Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Vaughn Hanshaw. Appreciate you all tuning into my show today. I go to counseling and therapy about once every other week, about twice a month, for my PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. And the reason I got that, part of the reason was my childhood. I want to give you all a glimpse into my childhood. I've never publicly spoken about this at any great length. I've mentioned it in passing, but I've never uh, went into details like I'm going to do today. Having been raised in a home, in an abusive home like I was for the first few years of my life, that caused me to become diagnosed later in life with PTSD, along with things that I saw when I was a police chaplain working bloody, fatal car wrecks and seeing other people die throughout my life and different things that I've done in my life. I've seen a lot of people die, like right in front of me. Either I'd be there with them or I'd be holding some of them. I'd be in close proximity to them breathing their last breath. And I don't care who you are, that's going to negatively affect you in your mind and your emotions and how you relate to life. And then being diagnosed with the crippling form of muscular dystrophy that I have at 14 years old, coupled with the 4 failed marriages that I've been in. I've been divorced 4 times. All the women that I was with left me for other men. All of that has made me the man that I am today, plus the 30 plus years of church abuse that I endured, mostly at the hands of Pentecostal Christians, which I'm no longer a Christian. I was a Christian 39 years. I was a minister for 30. I'm no longer in any of that. Now I'm a pagan. Now, I want to share some very personal stories with you about my childhood that will help to explain me the level of anger that I sometimes have, the level of rage that I can quickly get to if provoked. And most of you who listen to this, of course, don't know this about me. And most of you have never gone through anything like this in your life. And I'm glad you haven't. You know, the movie The Burning Bed came out in the mid 1980s, starring Farrah Fawcett. And when that movie came out, I was about 13, 14 years old or something like that. I think it was around 83 or 84 when the movie came out. And I tried to watch about 10 minutes of that movie. I had to walk out of the room. We were seeing the movie in my 9th grade class, I'll never forget it, in our psychology class there at Southern junior high school in Lexington, Kentucky. The teacher was showing us the movie. And after about 10, 15 minutes, I got up out of my seat and I walked out and I went down to the principal's office and stayed there until class was over because I told them that I could not watch that movie. It triggered, I didn't know then what to call it. I just told them it bothered me too much. But now that I know a little bit about psychology and whatnot, I know that it was triggering me. That it was hitting different triggers in me, bringing about rage and anger thoughts. So let's get into this. My first memories when I was, 2, 3 years old, as far back as I can remember, I remember my dad, who was a police officer in Lexington, Kentucky, big guy, about 6'3", well over 200 pounds, solid muscle. I remember him getting drunk on the weekends, now that I found out later. And I remember him doing this all the time. He would beat my mother up with his fist. He would beat on us, all of us. He'd beat us all up. He used his nightstick on us. His police issued solid hickory nightstick with a piece of lead in the tip of it about the last 3 inches. It was inserted into that nightstick, special customized made nightstick. He had a leather strap around it. He could wrap it around his wrist where it would not dislodge from his hand, and beat us mercilessly with his hands, fists, nightstick, iron skillets, pots, pans. I remember him smashing whiskey bottles over my mother's head, and he would snatch me and my 2 brothers up off of the floor. We were little guys, by the hair of our head, and shake us and throw us through windows and throw us through doors. I remember one incident where my dad took a belt and beat my older brother so bad with that belt. My older brother was 8 years older than me, so he was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old at this time, something like that. I was very little, but I remember all this. And he used the belt buckle to beat my brother with, and it brought the blood out of my brother's back and legs and face. He cut his face down, blacked his eye with that belt buckle. My brother's face bled for a long time after that. My mother would try to step in and stop that, and then my dad would beat on her mercilessly. And my grandmother, my dad's mother, would she lived right next door to us. She would often try to step in, and he would beat his mother without mercy. Throw her out windows, throw her out doors, kick her, beat her, whatever. And he would be drunk most of the time when he would do this. And I remember my dad raping my mother in front of us dozens of times, brutally raping my mother. I mean, without getting too graphic here, I'm doing this video because my therapist thought it might be a good way for me to vent, and it might be a way to help some of you all who have gone through similar incidences and who may be going through it right now, God forbid. And if you are going through any of this, let me know. I don't care what state in America you're located in. You let me know, and I will try my best. I make this promise to you. I will try my best to get you out of that situation. I know police officers all over this country, where my dad was one, where I was a police chaplain 5 years. I was a prison chaplain 17 years. So I know all kinds of local, state, and federal law enforcement officers all over this nation. And all it takes is a phone call. You let me know if you're going through any kind of abuse. And I promise you, if it's in my power any way at all I can do it, I will try my best to get you out of that situation. And so these are the memories that I was raised up in until I was 6 years old. Then my dad joined a church, got baptized, become a minister of all things. My dad stopped the beatings for the most part. He still did them, but not to the extent that he did while he was drunk. And you know, in all fairness to my dad, he's passed away now. He was raised by a stepfather that was an outlaw, that beat him, did him the same way. My dad was beat with horse whips and everything you can imagine. So that's all he knew. He had no other reference point. That's how he corrected his children, and that's how he kept all of us, quote, in line. I remember many times he would be drunk and he would take his police-issued .38 revolver and shoot at us. I remember being in my bedroom at, 2 or 3 years old or whatever I was, and he emptied that gun at us, and by some miracle, none of us was shot. The next day, I remember him taking a knife and digging the bullets out of the wall. And all of that. So, to say the very least, I was raised in an extremely abusive, physically and verbally abusive home. And that caused me to grow up with a certain mind to set, a certain kind of mentality. That's why I look back on it. That's why that I used to fight in school so much. My first day in first grade, I didn't go to kindergarten. They didn't have it where I was at. The school didn't offer it back in 1976. But my first day of first grade, I remember fighting this little kid there in my class. He kicked me with these cowboy boots, and we had a brawl on the school bus. And I got a paddling from the teacher first day of my school. And that continued on till the 9th grade. I never started them. I wasn't a bully, but matter of fact, I would try to take up for the kids that were being bullied. But I was always in fights. And I went to 11 schools out of 12 years. My dad, when he became a minister, went off to Bible college and seminary. they would send him to these churches about one a year. And we moved a lot. And so all of that plays a role in who I am today. And, like it, love it, or lump it, that's the man it made me into. And personally, I don't think I'm as enraged, well, I know I'm not, as I once was. Although I still feel it. It doesn't take very much to get me provoked if the right buttons are pushed. There are some people, I'm going to say this, of course without calling names, but I will tell you this. There are certain people alive on this earth who really need to seriously get down on their knees and they need to thank God that I haven't killed them. Because I've always kept this book just part of who I am. Even when I was a Christian, I never fully come to terms with this whole turn the other cheek bullshit. I never dealt with that. That never made sense to me. So I kept this book, and I've got it right here on my desk, right here. I looked at it right before I made this video, as a matter of fact. I look at it about once a month. And in this book that I've kept for 30 some odd years, since I've been a teenager, I write down the names and addresses of people who have hurt me in one way or the other, or hurt someone that I love. Now, I've never killed any of them. But I will tell you this, with my temperament and my proclivities toward violence and rage, with my numerous amount of homicidal thoughts due to the PTSD, then there are certain people in this world who seriously need to get down on their knees if they're able, go into their little prayer closets, wherever they go to their church, go somewhere real spiritual, and they need to thank their God, whoever God they serve, that they're still alive and breathing on this earth. Because there are a few in that book that have come very close to meeting their Maker. But thank God, thank my God, thank the gods, that I have enough sense, enough self-control not to act upon those. But just being real here, I don't know how to really say this, but I'm going to say it. I've had several uncles in prison for murder or attempted murder. I've had a few of my mom's brothers and a few of my dad's uncles on both sides of my family. A few cousins. So it's no wonder that I feel this in me. I literally feel that in me. I mean, I feel it. So now, it's nothing I have to work up. Like, if the right buttons are pushed, and if it's the right timing, the right buttons, and the right scenario, I could easily see that happening with me. Now, I'm 50 years old, and thankfully, it's not happened yet. And like I said, I don't want to do that to anybody unless I have to. For example, if someone was to break into my home right now, break through my door and break in here, I would have absolutely no qualms, no hesitation, no guilt, no second thoughts, no feelings, no emotions of killing that individual, dead. I would have no issues with that whatsoever. Because they're trying to hurt me, trying to kill me. So I know a lot of people are not like that, and that's why they become victims of crime. So anyway, I chased a little rabbit there, but it all ties in together. The man I am today is caused by my childhood. And I've written a few books about this, sharing different stories. I remember one story that my mom and us had just gone through a hellacious, vicious, brutal, sadistic beating from my dad. And this is one instance where he had raped her. And he was now passed out in the kitchen floor of our home with a half a big bottle of whiskey, Jim Beam whiskey or whatever it was there laying beside him. And he'd shot at us at this particular time. And there was one bullet left in the gun. I remember that because my mom, when he passed out, she went over and picked up the gun, and she was bleeding, bruised, cut up, crying, of course. Her clothes ripped off her body. And she picked that gun up and she put it to his head. And she come in just an ace. I mean, she come in her. She cocked it. Sorry if I jerk here. I'm trying to alleviate a little bit of pain in my hips while I sit in this damn wheelchair all the time. But anyway, she cocked that gun, put it to his temple, and then she looked at us. And she was crying and trembling. And she said, if I do this, I won't get to see you boys ever again. They'll send me to prison. And so she uncocked the gun and threw it in the backyard where he woke up. He'd have to go hunt for it to find it. And so we left our home there, and then we lived in a mobile home park at the time down in Lexington, Kentucky. And it was cold outside. It must have been winter. It was very cold. We left before he could wake back up. And we got down the street there, and she looked, and she saw our station wagon. She said, "There he is, we gotta hide." We dove underneath a trailer down there, and she said, "Let's all huddle together and look like a rock, and he won't know we're here." We did that. We didn't move. We didn't breathe. He was just going ever so slow. And he had his spotlight out, his police spotlight. He had one in his personal car there, and he was using that spotlight. But he went right on by us. We were scared shitless. And when he went by there, the man and woman that owned the mobile home must have heard us under there fooling around. He came out and looked, it was after dark. He shined a flashlight under there, asked what we were doing. And my mom told him we just got beat up. Her husband was on a drunken rage. And he saw us, and we were all bleeding and bruised and all that, so he took us in and fed us. His name was Joe Stone. He's gone now till I can call his name. And I'll never forget him. I was only about 4 years old at the time. He fed us hot dogs and potato chips. And he got a wash rag out, and excuse me, guys, this is a little bit difficult here. He got a wash rag out, and he cleaned my mom's face up. An hour, but he wiped the blood off Mama's face. And he went in his bedroom there and got a gun. And he said, "I'm going to go shoot the son of a bitch." And his wife stopped him. She literally had to force him to not walk out that door. She blocked the door. I don't remember her name, but I remember him. I remember him sitting at the table loading that gun up with copper-colored bullets. And he told my mother, right in the eyeball, I watched him. He said, "I'm going to go shoot that son of a bitch." Because my mom done told him he was circling around in the station wagon looking for us. And all that. So anyway, that's a little glimpse into my childhood. I remember many, many times my mom calling some of her brothers down to Lexington from eastern Kentucky to pick us up after we'd been beaten, taking us out to my grandmother's, my mom's house. And my grandmother was always so sweet and kind to us, and all of that. So that's about all I'm going to get into because it's starting to bother me some. So we'll end it right there. Just a little glimpse into my childhood. So before you judge me for my anger, and the rage you see on some of my videos, or out and about wherever you find me. Just know that there's a reason for that. I do the best I can with what I was given. And I don't make apologies to nobody. And anyway, if you're out there and you're going through abuse, this is the year 2020 now, guys. We don't have to put up with that. Back when my mom was raising us in the 70s, there was not near the resources there are today. Many law enforcement officers back then, from what I gather, took a lax view on that. Now they don't. So if you're going through abuse, whether you're a wife going through it or you're a child going through it or whatever, girlfriend, whatever, foster child, whoever you are, you reach out to me. My email is at the end of this video. You email me. And I told you, if it's in my power, I don't care where you're at in the United States, I will try my best to make some calls to get you out of that situation. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to endure that. You don't have to put up with that. Okay? Y'all have a good day, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.